Good afternoon, good morning, and welcome to our webinar with the topic Busch ControlTouch KNX. My name is Thorsten Reibel. I'm sitting here together with Jürgen Schilder here in Heidelberg. Together with us is also Ilya Zivadinovic in Lüdenscheid at Busch who will conduct the main part of this webinar. And he is sitting together with Peter de Jager. Peter is the responsible product manager for this product, and he will help us in answering your question. The feedback email, as always, will be sent to you afterwards, together with, the presentation is not the right word because it's a very short presentation. I will do at the beginning only 4 slides, not more. So the main part is a demonstration together with this product, Ilya, so you can see it then directly in this recorded video file we will send to you as well. Let's have a look what is planned. Only one product today. Busch ControlTouch KNX. So what's behind? You see the component here on the left. It's a very powerful device with numerous functions. A visualization is integrated. Interfaces to different other solutions and products is also integrated, and it works together with our My ABB Living Space portal. You might remember from Free at Home, but also from Welcome System. So it's an essential part of this solution. But let's have a look, first of all, to some facts of this product. You see it again here on the left side. So what you need is nothing else but the KNX connection, and a power supply is necessary, 5 to 36 volt DC to energize this device, and very important also to have a LAN connection, and finally also an internet connection to get access via this portal to this component. Inside is a lot of software. Here's a summary of the main functions. And a scene editor is integrated, so light scenes can be created. A powerful timer is integrated with Astro function. Very powerful and unique is this logic script, so you can create some logical functions with a logic script. Will be shown by Ilya to you how it works in principle. Alarming, malfunction messages can be sent. Data, analog values, for example, can be logged and shown in any diagram, graphical diagram. RGB support, so colored lighting is possible. Also IP cameras can be integrated and shown on the visualization. So network cameras and IP cameras supported by this PTZ commands, so zooming and positioning is also possible here. A very nice feature is a presence detection option, also explained by Ilya during his part in this webinar. As it is a IP or network connected device and also connected to twisted pair, it can be used also as a kind of IP interface with KNXNet IP tunneling function, also possible. Read requests in case of restarting or starting the system, so you can read out the assigned values of the communication objects to initialize in principle the device. Philips Hue can be integrated, also colored lighting, as well as UPnP commands or components like Sonos. Distributed audio is also possible here. Furthermore, TCP and HTTP commands can be sent, and last but not least, different users with different rights and roles can be also created in this device. Let's have a short look to the visualization part. You see here a tablet PC. In principle, it's a more text and button-oriented visualization, so it does not replace any separate visualization running on a PC. There's a lot more graphical elements. But numerous functions are possible. You expect from any visualization, like switching and dimming something, blind control, of course, scene management. You can jump to any other account, to any other menu, other page, for example. RGB control, as mentioned, is possible. Analog values can be displayed here. RTC control, it's not an RTC controller inside, but as a slave to operate an RTC controller, which is in the building, can be integrated here. IP cameras, videos from IP cameras can be visualized. And many more functions. You will see in the next presentation or demonstration by Ilya what is possible. Final slide from my side. How do you get access to the components? So here on the left, the device in your home, in any building, KNX project, of course. So first of all, you as a system integrator, installer have to register this device, and this is done via this My ABB Living Space portal. Again, you might remember from Welcome System, but also from Free at Home. So it's for registration, but also for set up the whole functionality in this device. And this, of course, you can access locally via any web browser, via the network in the building, and but also remotely is this possible, of course. The user who would like to operate later on functions via the integrated visualization at the moment needs access via Wi-Fi locally, very simple. Or if it's a remote access is necessary, then you have to go via VPN, which is also more or less integrated, or port forwarding. So then any remote access possible, and all these things you do via an existing app for this device. So in future, it will be also possible for the end user to access via this My ABB Living Space portal his program component and his project in his building. Yeah, and how does it work with this registration and setup of the component will be done now by Ilya. I just hand over now to Ilya. He will show you everything live right now. Just a moment, please.
Hello, guys. Very nice to see you, or to see your names here. Thank you for joining this webinar. Last webinar, we showed several slides about some main features of the ControlTouch. Today, I would like to put the main focus on a live demonstration to show you several or some initial settings of commissioning, how to get started with the ControlTouch. For that, I want to share my desktop, like this one. And first of all, what you need is, if you want to commission the ControlTouch, you need a web account in the My ABB Living Space portal. The ControlTouch is a little bit different from other KNX devices. It is completely commissioning or programmable over web surface web page. So in my case, I have already created a KNX account, not a KNX account, an ABB My Living Space portal account. So let me please log in. And the account is free of charge. You can register yourself. You can have two profiles. One profile is you can register yourself in the account as a typical user, end user, homeowner, or you can also choose you are a professional, like electrical installer, something like that. In my case, I did that. And I have here also several links, my home, my installation, and so on and so on. Under my installation, I have the possibility to register my hardware, my physical ControlTouch. This procedure I want to skip. You have a perfect description in the technical manual. You will be guided. What you can do is to say, okay, I want to have a ControlTouch inside. You can call a ControlTouch, enter the registry number, which is printed on the housing of the device itself, and register it to your account. In my case, I already did it. You see here, I have one ControlTouch inside. You as an installer or system integrator, if you have an account, you can of course administrate not just one, you can administrate a lot of ControlTouch for different projects, for different families, and so on and so on. In my case, I have just one in my installation, and I want to open it. So if I click on it, I jump directly to the device itself, completely a complete web surface, independent web surface. And the first initial setting you can see here, you can give your ControlTouch, the device itself, your name. And if you are adding a ControlTouch into and register it into the ABB cloud or my ABB Living Space portal, you will initially also get a DNS account. That means you are able now to use this DNS account in combination with your mobile or remote PC to get access from outside your network. You see also here project in devices. That means I already have some projects inside. So what is possible with my VB Living Space account is you can register, of course, multiple devices. One device can contain only one project, but in your account, you can create a lot of projects and a lot of profiles. I will show it later. And if you are in the same network, you have registered your ControlTouch and your PC is in the same network like your ControlTouch, the ControlTouch will automatically be seen in your network, and you see directly the IP address of your local ControlTouch. That means if you click on here, you are jumping directly on the surface of your local device. But at first, I want to show you the web application. So first, what you need to do is you need to create some projects, to create a project. That means you click here on project, say, okay, I want to add new projects. In this case, I already did it. I called it first webinar or second webinar. You can give here the name of the project, and here the settings are if you have defined in your ETS, you have several group addresses you have defined for date, for time, you can easily edit directly, type it in, and you can say, I want my ControlTouch also to be a time sender. Or in this case, I'm not sending the time. So it is up to you, how do you want to use it? By default settings, the ControlTouch is linked to a time server. That means you will receive your time from the internet. If you did this, you will find here a link called group addresses. You can click on it. And at present, it is more or less complete empty. That means what you need to do is you click here on edit. And in my case, I already did it just to save a little bit of time. You need to import your ETS file. That means, first of all, you in ETS, you are creating your complete ETS project. Then you go to export and export your project. With the ETS file you are using, you can click here on import, select the file, and upload the file into the cloud. If you did this once, just to show you, you will get the complete group structure and from ETS also the complete building structure. That means what you see here are all the group addresses and the physical addresses of the components, but not the components, the KNX devices itself. And then step by step, you can rebuild your own visualization structure. That means maybe you have a very, very huge KNX project, but you don't really, or you don't need to do the visualization for the entire project. That means you are talking to your customer and the customer says, okay, I want to have a visualization for light, for blight, for HVAC, and so on, but not for different group addresses here like this. That means you need to rebuild or to build a new visualization structure. This is very easy. So what you can do is to say, okay, at first, the target is I want to have a visualization of my living room. What I want to do is to control some lamps. I also want to control some blinds and, of course, maybe the heating. So in that case, you can open here the structure from your ETS. You can click on lighting. You can, of course, select directly the group addresses, or what you can do is to say, no, I go to the group address above, and this box here works like a filter function. That means here you can say under this group, what I want to do is to add all all switches, or all 1-bit communication objects, or all one byte, and so on and so on. And what you can do is to say, okay, I want to make a new regroup. In my case, I want to make it easier. I will take over the main and the middle groups like this one. So that means the names are here for me very okay. And I say, okay, plus. Now you see, he added all the group addresses under lighting, which are defined with a data type 1-bit. So this I can also do and say, okay, I also want to use a dimmer, and please also add me a dimmer like this one. And by saving, you see here a new structure. You can also rename the structure or regroup the structure, but you see here lighting, you have switching, and you have value for instant dimming. So step by step, I can do it for all the group addresses I need. And if you say, okay, or if you choose, I want to go very deep into the structure, you can say, okay, if I click on living room and the living room is already defined as a 1-bit from ETS, you can see all what is not possible are hidden. That means he recognizes as a 1-bit object. It is up and down from blinds. So what you can do is to select directly the type like this one here. Oops, blinds, and say plus. The same also for steps. It's not a switch, it's a blind, plus, and say save. Now you have also the structure for blind, step, up and down. In our case, I also want to add some scenes. Maybe your electrical installer has already defined several scenes in the ETS projects. You have a lot of possibility how to organize the scenes. First, you can say, okay, I have some scenes stored in different other KNX devices in some actuators like this. Or that means then you can use the ControlTouch as a so-called extension unit. So in the ControlTouch, there is not a scene editor included, but it works like a extension unit. You can call the scenes, but the scenes must be stored somewhere. In the other case, you as a customer can also create your new scenes and store it also directly in the ControlTouch. That means whenever you are adding here some group addresses, you will always be asked allow in scenes and time switches. That means if I open this, I did it, and I allowed my user, my end user later, if you want to create his own scenes, to use this group addresses. This you can enable or disable. In my case, I want to use a scene, a predefined scene, oops, like this one, and say, okay, I have maybe somewhere in my projects 3 scenes defined. I can add 3 scenes and say, okay, the first scene I have created was maybe all off. The second scene I have all on. And the third scene has, for instance, is my comfort scene. That means you are using the ControlTouch now just as a call for scenes. And you need also to give him a number. That means all off, maybe it is scene number 1, all on is maybe scene number 2, and so on and so on. And you say save. That means you have now created some scenes and you have predefined the value. What do you want to be sent out if you click on this object? This you can do for each communicate or each group addresses like here. So this you can do step by step. And if you have defined this, you can start with a visualization, the first visualization. It means you can go to the device here and say, okay, I want to create a new profile. You can say, I want to add a new profile. Here I already did it. I called it the first webinar. This is the name of your profile. You can, of course, administrate multiple profiles. And the first page is an initial page for settings. It means you see here navigation page and control page. Mostly you only have these two pages, but you can be very creative. You can have a navigation page included inside another navigation page, then linking to a control page, and so on and so on. The most difference is control pages are containing all the control elements for dimming, blind, and so on. And navigation pages are more or less links on operation pages. You are also able, if you have enabled some advanced settings, to change the skin, the appearance of the web page. That means you can say, okay, for the control page, I want to have a complete different background, like this one, and say save and change. Now, for all control pages, you have this background. You can do this for navigation, but what you can also do is, you will see it if I add some new pages. You can be also very creative and flexible in colors to change for each page a different color. This is what you can do here. But the first what I want to do is I want to add a new page, and I want to call this page living room. Like this. Here you can, Then the page type, I want to have some control elements inside. That means I want to use a control page. You can also give him a nice icon, a picture. You're also able to upload your own pictures if you want. So in this case, I have a room, maybe a living room. What you can do is also for the pages to pin code the pages. It means you will ask for access with a pin code you need to enter before. Or you can also send a request to ask for a touch ID. In this case, I want to make it more easy. I don't want to pin code it. And now you are starting to build your page. You can add several control elements. Here you can see you have a lot of control elements. From display control elements for dimming, RTC control, shutters, and so on and so on. You have also some empty spaces, some text control elements where you can have a static text or variable text, just to give the page more order or more structure. In the first, what I want to do is to say at first I want to use a switch. You can add a switch, and if you click on the switch, you will see here a box, a drop-down box. You can open it, and here you can see what is possible for switching. You have seen I have added several more group addresses, but here is only the selection of what is possible. In my case, I want to use here the spot to turn it on, to switch it on. You can also use a switch only for display. That means if you just want to see the status of an object, you can also say, okay, show only, but touching is not allowed. Ask for confirmation is if you have some sensitive control elements, and just to avoid to press it by mistake, you can also say, okay, please ask for confirmation. Do you really to trigger this object, something like that? And of course, you can choose your own icons. And of course, you can also follow our color settings. You hopefully know from all our products, sensors, Comfort Touch, Preon, and so on. Light for yellow, say save. And what I can do is also to add a dimmer. Say, okay, I want also to add a dimmer, create a dimmer. And the dimming, the value for dimming is, for instance, table light. And if you want to switch, you can also, I haven't imported the table light. You can, use halogen spot. And if you want also to switch it, you can also use the communication object 1-bit. You can choose, do you want a slider or do you want a text button? In my case, in this case, I use a slider. You can also rearrange the text alignment and the step right. Say save. And now you can slide, or if you press the bulb, you can also directly switch. The same you can also do if you want to use your blinds, shutter, curtains, something like that, to say, okay, I want to use here some new shutters, here the blinds, here I want to use a step, not step, up down, sorry, up down, and here I want to use the step, living room, the same procedure here, say save, and so step by step you can build your own page. And if you want to rearrange a little bit, you can also click, and via drag and drop you can also reorganize or rearrange the settings here. The next is I told you we have also some scenes inside, and I also want to create a scene controller. We can stay here on the living room, and I can say, okay, I want also to use scenes like this one. I can add some scenes and say, okay, I have some predefined scenes, and I have here my all on scene or all off scene. I can choose here some icons, all off, something like that. I can say save, and so on and so on. So, okay, scenes like all on, like this one symbol, send save, and so step by step you can also include several scenes inside your page. Of course, you have different possibilities to start seeing. You can do it like this. You can also use one byte object to start a scene. This is you can also use push buttons to make a call for a scene. So this is really up to you, but this is more or less the most easiest way how to integrate the scenes in your web page. So I told you you have different pages. You have control pages, and you have navigation pages, and you have initially a menu page. This means this is more or less your starting and landing page. It is a navigation page, and you also want to have a menu, a structure in your iPad, on your iPhone. That means your landing page is always the menu page, and please don't forget also don't forget to link to your operation pages. That means I can add here a new link, say okay, and I want here to jump to my living room and say save. And what you can see here, my practical recommendation, please create at first the control pages and then the navigation pages, because the navigation pages are only links, more or less links to the control pages, like this one. So I hope you can imagine how easy it is to add dimmer, scenes, blinds, and so on and so on. In this case, I don't want to go too deep inside. The next what I want to show you is the temperature control. In that case, I need to define also the group addresses for the temperatures. See here, I have lighting and switches, but no temperature. So now the target is I want to display temperature. I want also to change operation mode, and I also want to change a new set point. As Torsten mentioned, the control touch, it's only a slave. That means somewhere in your project, you need to have a real RTC controller. The slave, like here, the control touch, is an extension unit. That means you are just sending some requests to your master for changing operation mode or changing the set point. So I want to stay on the living room, and I want to make it easy, and I say, okay, I want to have some actual temperature, like this one. I mark it directly. You can see here, it is directly triggered on temperature. I can say, okay, main group address like this one. This is to display the temperature. And I also want to maybe display the set point, like this one, say plus. And the most important is, of course, I want to change the temperature. That means what you need is to say, okay, I'm sending a request to the master, and I want to receive a confirmation. That means you have a shift between these two group addresses. And you see here, you have also a data type called shift. I say okay. And if you request something, you also want to get a confirmation like this one. Here's the same, say shift plus and save. So now I have a new group, HVAC, actual temperature, set point, confirmation set point, and requesting set point. So now you see here, you have a sending group address and you have a status group address. That means a receiving group address. Here it is also very important to say, okay, I am sending a request from this group address. The master receives this and confirms it over this group address. That means this I need to change and say, okay, listen to the group address of confirmed set point coming from the master and say save. More or less, I think I have added all group addresses I need. Then you can jump back and go to your profiles, and I want to create a new page, and I want to say, okay, this is my temperature control page. You can give him also here a nice icon, say save. And now you can say, okay, what I want to do is to display the temperature, say plus. You have here a display of the temperature, and you see here you have a set point to display. In this case, I want to display my actual temperature, say save. This is all. Then the next is I want to change the operation mode. That means what I can do is to add an RTC mode selection, say plus. Click on here. Here you can select, do you want to be able to set it on comfort, standby, and eco mode. And you have also here, oh, I didn't selected it. Just a moment. Projects, group addresses. To say I have here an HVAC and I have here an RTC operation mode, living room. It is RTC mode plus and save. So, sorry. Under profiles, again, temperature. You can now say, okay, under this group address, I want to change the operation mode and say save. The next is we also want to use a set point. That means you can select the change temperature control element by plus. And you see here, if you are adding a set point controller, you see here the set point in white, and a little bit hidden, you see always the actual temperature, like this one. So here you can say, okay, display my set point. Here is my set point. You say actual temperature. You are sending, say, actual temperature. Then you say, okay, set point request, confirm. It is you want to send a request to your master. That means choose a request and say save. And this is all. This is how you can do a visualization of RTCs. The next point are UPnP commands. What is possible? If I will jump back to the local device page, you see here, I jump here to the local device page. You have the possibility, if you have UPnP devices inside your network, you can scan your network for UPnP devices. You can imagine here in IBB, we are a little bit limited with some devices in networks. You can scan for it. In my case, I have a Sonos loudspeaker, but Sonos is just an example. We are talking here about UPnP commands. So you can scan for the devices. That means locally you have it. And the next step is load configuration. That means if you found your devices, click on load configuration, that you have a synchronization between the local device and here the ABB Living Space account commissioning web page. So the first what we want to do is to say, I want to add a new page and I call it, in my case, Sonos. Then you can choose a nice icon again. And if you don't find a proper icon, you can go under images and upload your own icon and give here your own name for this list. So I did it, my graphics, and I added a Sonos icon to make it more customized. So say save. And now the same procedure. What I want to do is also to configure several commands. For instance, one command for adjusting the volume, one command for play, one command for pause. And I also want to jump directly into the Sonos app. That means the first is, what I'm doing is I'm choosing here a UPnP slider, say add. And the UPnP slider, you see here devices. He already found my UPnP device. That means you need to, on your local device, to search for UPnP devices, then to press on upload configuration, and then you see here the list of all your UPnP devices. In this case, I use the slider for volume. More or less, it's not more possible. Slider, text with slider, like you know it from a dimmer. But in this case, I want to show you the second possibility to say I want to use it as text with buttons. The same alignment of text, step size, and so on, and say save. So what you did here is, by quick and dirty, your first UPnP command. So the next is, what you can also do is to say, I want also to have command sender, for instance, for pause or for play. something like this. Say, okay, multimedia, symbol for play. Give him a good name, play. UPnP device is selected. Please make sure. Say save. And the next is also a next UPnP command. And to say, okay, for instance, I want to use it for pause. Symbol. And so on and so on. What you also can do is to say, okay, I want to have variable text, and maybe you can also display the title, the album, the artist, and so on. But in my case, my recommendation is you have, or if you have an UPnP device, typically you have a separate app for your device, so you really don't need to rebuild everything. So this is my practical point of view. If I want to have more, I can say, okay, I want to link directly to the Sonos app. That means you can use the control element web page, say add, and inside the web page, you can say open in browser or open on page. The difference is open in browser means open in a new application, and open on page means you can create a frame inside this page. But I want to jump directly to the browser page. Then I can give him a name, link to Sonos app, and then I can directly call Sonos directly by this URL. I can also use my own graphics and say save. So that means if you click on this, the Sonos app will automatically be open. You are jumping to the Sonos app, you can make your configuration, and you will see on Sonos here on top on the left-hand side, back to ControlTouch app. That means you can toggle directly between the two apps. The next, what I want to show you are presence detection and trigger control. If we jump back to the projects, you see here we have a link called presence detection. If I click on it, you see if you have different mobile devices inside your network, like your ControlTouch, your mobile devices will be automatically recognized. And in this case, he recognized my iPad. It can also be my smartphone and so, or whatever. And if you have more devices, you can select it for different devices, different night periods, and different timeouts. That means the presence detection means it is a detection if your mobile device is logged into your home network, yes or not. That means if you are present or if you are away, something like that. And you can use the presence detection to start or to trigger different scenarios. But you don't want to do it always. Maybe at night you are switching your mobile phone off or something like that, and you have defined a trigger for doing something. If your mobile is not in the network, you don't want to have it. So this is why you can define a night period to say, okay, at that time, whatever triggers I used are enabled at that time. And you can give a timeout to say, okay, he shall use the function only if my mobile is 50, 30, 45 minutes on or off, something like that. If you did it, you can use a trigger to say, okay, I want to use a new trigger, and I will add a simple trigger to say, okay, play by present, for instance. This is my name. You can add different conditions. You have the possibility to trigger something if something happens on a group address, if something happens on a HTTP, if something happens on a protocol, that means on or off. Or in my case, I want to use the presence detection to say, okay, play by present. When my iPhone or iPad or smartphone, smart tablet is present, then you can trigger group addresses end in end. But in my case, I want to use a command, say UPnP command, and to bring my system, set it to play. Something like this. You can do the same in a opposite way to say, okay, I add a new trigger and say pause by not available. To say, okay, presence detection only when I am not at home, play a command UPnP and stop the music, shut it off, something like that. So step by step, you can use this, and you can be very, very creative what you are doing with your triggers. You can have a lot of triggers. You can also use script for triggers or start scripts by a trigger and so on and so on. And sometimes, of course, it makes sense to test it. So if you finished your configuration, you can go on the ControlTouch itself on a local device. You can say, okay, load the configuration. That means the ControlTouch will download all the settings from the cloud and import it in the device itself. And you will find here a link called alarm messages. It means more or less testing and simulate your conditions. So you can simulate your triggers, you can simulate your scripts, and. So this is what you can easily do to test if your configuration is okay. Does it work or not? The next, what I want to show you is the data logger to stay on this page. In my simple case, you remember the temperature I have added, and in my simple case, I only want to display the temperature. You can say, okay, I want to add a new data logger. Say to give him a name, and you can choose a time period. When do you want to read the value? You see hour, day, week, month, year, and you see here by time period what measurement cycle is behind. In my case, I want to have it for an hour. That means each 30 seconds I have a value. Then you can choose a type, mean value, actual value, and minimum, maximum. And if you have some energy counter, some energy counter delivering you the absolute value or the delta value. It means here, if you want to measure your consumption, you can also choose is your energy counter sending in total, or it's just sending a delta to make the visualization more useful. And here you are choosing the component. It means component means on which group address you want to listen. In my case, I want to have the actual temperature of the living room and say add. Step by step, you can add, of course, a lot of data loggers. You can do it for temperature, you can do it for brightness, energy, and so on and so on. But now we need to we want to display the values. It means display it, you can go to your devices, again under profiles. I want to add a new page, and you can say data logger, or give him a name, control page, icon, and so on, the same procedure. And then you can say, okay, I want to add a data logger, like this one. Plus, mark it or highlight it. You can choose it is a line or a bar. And then under data logger, you have all the pre-configured data loggers. In my case, I did it just once for the temperature. You can edit. And you see here, show min and max value. That means if you are receiving only in 30 seconds the value, or you are reading in 30 seconds the value, but maybe your value sender is giving it in a more shorter period. So that means you have also a min and max value. It means you have 3 graphs, one for the mean value and one for min and max. If you want to avoid this, you can say, okay, no, I just want to have the actual temperature, the mean value. You have different settings, value factor, shift, and so on and so on. Here, what you can do is, if you have a factor, for instance, you have kilowatt and you want to have it in watt, that means you can add a factor 1000. If you want a value shift, means if you want to change the temperature from Fahrenheit to degrees, something like that. And you are also possible to add, if you have defined more settings, more data loggers, to add a second graph inside. Maybe you have also added a graph or data logger for brightness, outside brightness. That means then you can display here also the outdoor brightness in comparison to your room temperature. So this is what you can do and display it. So these are the data loggers. The next is I want to show you some alarms like this. What you can do is you can add some alarms inside. For instance, to send you a push notification to your mobile device. It means I click on an alarm and you see a list of possible mobile devices where it is possible to send a push notification. I click on add an alarm and I say I want to, I don't know, I call it maybe wind alarm like this. And what I can do is to say, okay, an alarm occurred on, and then you can use this one, DTT. You see it in small letters and in large or big letters. For instance, T in small letters, hour and minute. Big letter T, also seconds. So it depends on you what you want. In this case, I want to be displayed an alarm occurred on that day at that time. Then you can choose the message. When do you want to receive it? Maybe you want to receive it when it always occurred, or you say, okay, it can occur at different times, but I want just only to be remembered every 50 minutes, something like that. You can send you an email, or you can send you a push notification on your mobile device. Then you can select here your condition type. You can say, okay, maybe you have a binary input or weather station or blind actuator. Then you say, okay, I want to use the group address. And here you are choosing the group address of your wind alarm, for instance. at that case, I didn't edit. I can say, okay, change and return. You can go to projects and say under the group addresses, edit. I have some alarm messages, some switching. I choose both and I use a 1-bit value. Say plus and save. Now under the profiles, under the alarms, I have now the possibility also to use, okay, whenever a wind alarm on this byte occurred, not every telegram, only, you can also say only when one occurred, select the condition, and so on. You can add more condition and say, okay, change. That means whenever a wind alarm occurred, you will get a push notification on your mobile with a text message, an alarm occurred on that day at that time. So this is how you can create alarm messages. The next is I want to show you how to add cameras. How to add cameras. Under projects, you have here a link, cameras, and you can include internal cameras as well as external cameras. Here in my case, I already did it. You click on add camera. The first one is my internal camera. The second one is my external camera. You have a dialog box. You can give it a name. You can choose a type. Is it Axis or Mobotics or other cameras which provide you with motion JPEGs, something like that. You are then you are using others. Then you can give an internal URL. That means here in my case, the internal IP address of my camera, because I'm in the same network. If you want to go from outside to have access on your camera, you can also, if you have enabled that your Mobotics camera, in my case, is also available from outside, you can also give here an external URL. Here you are choosing how large do I want to display the picture, the picture on my mobile device. And if your camera is doing this to support pen, tilt, and zoom, you can also activate this. On mobile Wi-Fi, you can also say, okay, always video stream or only video stream when I am on when I'm inside my home network. If I have a good Wi-Fi connection, then all video stream and only then you can say change. Of course, if you have a password protection, here is the password. If you want to include an external camera like this one, the same procedure. Select the type, put in the URL, look what is possible to support. Typically, you have no support for public cameras for pen, tilt, and zoom. And typically, public cameras also have no password. That means if you add the camera on your ControlTouch app, the ControlTouch app will always ask for username and password. And if he don't find this, he will give you a alarm message or mistake message, something like a password is wrong or so on. It's not wrong, it is only not available. What you can do is to say, okay, I want to enable that no warnings for these cameras are displayed. So this is what you can do, and you can save your settings. Now you have commissioned your cameras, but you also want to include it in your app. So what I can do is to add a new page. I call it cameras. Same procedure here. Say save. And now I can add two cameras. The first camera is my Mobotics camera. Save. And the second camera is my public camera. Save. And that's all. Now you have added your cameras into your ControlTouch app. The next are scripts. The scripts are very it's a very powerful feature. Under scripts, you can be very creative what you want to do. So with scripts, with the programming mode, you are more or less able to do everything and to customize really solutions. What I want to do is to show you just how it looks like. I want to add a new script, and for instance, I want to say, okay, I have an integrated RGB lamps, for instance, and if an error occurred, I want to set all my RGB lamps to red. Means what I can do is to say, okay, I give it a name. You can enable and disable it. You can say, okay, this script is always running after reboot. And if you want also the scripts to be available in scenes and time switches that your customer can also use this, you can enable or disable it. And here is your programming editor. And you have a lot of commands. You have commands, you have functions, you have scenarios, you can compare values if you want. You have compare functions and. What I want to do now is to say, okay, if something happens, then please do this. So I have commands, and what I can do is to say, okay, if now I have here a condition. Now I have a condition, and I can say, okay, if and choose, I want to have an heating error. You remember in my group address, I have a 1-bit heating error. Say, okay, I want to choose my heating. And if my heating says it has a value 1, then you can go and say, okay, under the commands, set my RGB components. You click here, RGB, and if you have some defined group addresses for your RGB lamps, it will automatically be displayed here. You can select one and say, please then, go to red. Like this one. And you can save and check. So if you see, if you did a mistake, it will automatically be give you a warning. You say, okay, set, you see, okay. Here, the brackets are not okay. That means what you can do now is to say, okay, I want to correct this, save and check. And if is everything okay, then you can you have no warnings anymore. And scripts you can also use also for some triggers. That means a script needs to be triggered. It's not running always in the background. That means what you need to do is to say, okay, I use a trigger, I add a new trigger, I give him a name like this one, and say, whenever my group address from alarm messages heating error has a 1 byte, has a 1 on this one on this group address, then call the script heating error and start, and say done. This is what you can also do. I used an if, so if this then that. In this case, if you are using a trigger, you already have the the condition if it is one or not. It is only the possibility what I want to show you. And what you can also do is to use also some scripts used in scripts. That means you can have small scripts. They are completely independent, but you can also embed script in different scripts. So this is also possible. So it is a very, very powerful feature here. To stay on this, the next what I want to show you are commands. For instance, HTTP commands. You see here the link under commands, and you have different types. You have so-called TCP call, and you have HTTP commands. That means TCP commands means if you have maybe a smart TV, Samsung, Panasonic like this, it is inside your network. Then you can give here an IP address, and it is always communicating more or less over the port 23. So you need to read the manual instruction. You can say, okay, if I want to send a TCP command, for instance, make a start or switch the TV on, you need to add here under the commands your smart TV, and the command is a so-called hexadecimal command. So in this case, I have no example, but I have here an example for an HTTP command. That means my camera allows different to have different HTTP commands. It can be to play a sound, or it can be what is more practical, to make a snapshot. What I did here, I created an HTTP command. I called it Mobotics Alarm Sound. It can also be Mobotics Alarm Snapshot. And here I typed in the complete command. The command here, it depends on what kind of IP device do you have. So in this case, I have my Mobotics, and I know this, like this one. And I have now created one HTTP command. Now, what I can do is also to create a trigger that this command gets started. That means what I can do is to go under, for instance, under my group addresses and say, okay, I have a detector in my corridor, and I want, if I'm not at home, for instance, if this detector detects someone, it shall not just switch on the light. I also want to trigger my Mobotics camera to make a snapshot to see who is standing in front of the door, for instance. So I say plus, save. And now under triggers, what I can do is to say I want to add a new trigger. And maybe I can say snapshot. Say okay. Whenever the group address and my detector in the corridor is triggered, then I want to add a network command and to give a sound or make a snapshot and say save. It means this is also a very, very powerful feature, how you can combine different functions to one good solution. The next and the last point is how to integrate a Philips Hue inside. Maybe you know it from the ComfortTouch and our free at home system, that we have an integrated gateway inside. More or less, it's the same like here. It means what you can do is at your local device, the same procedure like you are searching for UPnPs. You search, you press the button of the U-bridge, then you click to apply to search. The address will automatically appear here. Then you can upload or synchronize the configuration with your portal. And then you have the U-bridge inside your portal. That means what you only need to do is to say, okay, I go to group addresses. And in that case, because the Philips Hue is an independent, it is independent from group addresses by nature. So you need to create your own group addresses for this. What you can do is you can manually add, I did it here, a new structure called Philips Hue, and I added at here RGBs and given a name to say, okay, I have 3 lamps, lamp 1, 2, 3, and I create manually more or less a virtual group address like hue, 1, 2, 3 for the lamps and RGB for the colors, and CT if it is possible, or if your LED is supported the color temperature. You can also use CT for color temperature to choose between warm white and white wise, warm white and cold white. If you did this, you can also go under your profiles, make a new page, call it RGB, say save, and then to add an RGB control like this, and you see here it's the same procedure. It is displayed here what I have defined in my group addresses, and say save, and so you can also step by step add the functions here. There are also some nice possibilities locally on the device. That means if I jump here back to the local device, you have also, or your customer has also the possibility not only to test the alarm messages. What he can also do is to create over the web page, of course, also over his app, to create his own scenes. That means what he can do is to say, okay, I want to add a new scene. Training webinar. And you see here, these are all the group addresses you have enabled by importing or reorganizing the structure in the first step. Now he can say, okay, the halogen spot I want to be on, the RGB LED I want to bring it on red, something like that, and say, okay, applying changes. He can also select several commands like this, or HTTPs. He can really make his scenes by his own, very, very easy. And what is also possible is he can also manage his own time profiles and time switches to say, okay, give it a name. When I want to have this, you can say, okay, every day, every month, every week, at that time, and so on, and maybe say, okay, play a scene, do an action, and you see this list is the same list like the list you did in the first step by defining the group addresses. What do you want that your customer is able to use? Yeah, more or less, I finished my presentation.
Ilya, first of all, thank you for your great presentation. I think you could see how powerful this device is. It's not only a KNX device, but it allows you to integrate many more functions or solutions in your building. Yeah, together with a KNX installation and together with these Busch ControlTouch KNX. Yeah, really great. Thank you. Just information about our further presence seminars here in Heidelberg. You might remember Certified Advanced Training will be in July. Still some places free. You can register if you want. We have our KNX tutor course in October and also some more security panel trainings here in Heidelberg. We added one more certified basic training now in this year, additionally in end of November. So we got some requests from our colleagues and customers to have an additional certified basic training. So keep this in mind, 21st until the 25th of November, but we will send an additional invitation to all of you soon. Yeah, our next webinar will deal with new components as well, our new analog actuators. We have shown already on the Light and Building Fair, but they will be launched officially in July, so next month. And this gives us a chance to inform you in some more details about these analog actuators, but also about analog value processing at all. So we also talk a bit about our analog inputs, but mainly we talk about analog actuators. Yeah. So I see some more questions coming in the chat. So, and already answer, but again, we will summarize everything in our feedback email you will get very soon. Okay, then I would say thank you to all of you and see you at the next webinar. Thank you and goodbye. Ciao, ciao.